2005 was a crazy year. A lot of people didn't realize so many things came out. You know, it was a really, really heavy year. And the Pigeons, Stussy dunks. But I mean, the one that stood out the most was that Undefeated. Undefeated 4 was kind of crazy. That was the one that really kind of like cemented the culture.
I just thought it was crazy because I never heard of Jordan like collaborating. I think it was the first one.
It's crazy, but it's true that back then there was only very few collabs, mostly with artists, brands, and it took time for these brands to realize the shop has this community and the shop built their brand.
Building up to it, everybody was excited about it. There was, you know, good, strong energy happening in the city.
That color is insane. This is so sick, you know, the materials, everything. A story like this needs to be told, and hopefully that younger generation understands what that really means.
And then, it was not available to the public. And then, we don't really know about numbers, but rumors started to spread. It was only very limited, like less than 30 pairs. So of course, the excitement went that high. And today, knowing that they're coming back, make this excitement even going stronger, because a lot of people didn't experience that era.
I don't want to use the word grail, but it's arguably the most sought out piece of Nike footwear ever made, or Jordan footwear.
So this collaboration in particular like spoke to the culture, but also to the brand. Even the colorway was so specific because, again, you couldn't just get a sneaker in any color that you wanted. And I think that the care and the focus in that collaboration really spoke to the culture.
I think that being the first, it was groundbreaking and made sense. I think that it was great for both brands. And that's what a powerful collaboration does.
To this day, I still get the, oh shit, that shoe, just the crossover as a designer. One of those, damn, right, it was right there in front of all of us. And Eddie, Paul, James, you know, everybody that I know back in the day, man, really hats off to you guys for an everlasting gobstopper is what that shoe is. For the Willy Wonka people, shoe people, it's that one.
Not many people does the kind of military color. I think that was the first one that did it, right? And then maybe the shoes with a military color is a kind of, you know, breaking rules.
Man, I first heard about the Undefeated Jordan 4. Actually, when I first started wearing Undefeated, I remember I went and bought that original gray crew neck with the U-man on the left pocket. Honestly, to me, Undefeated 4 is the one.
2005, when I first moved to Los Angeles, that Undefeated AJ4 was the hype shoe. And when I say the hype shoe, it don't be hype shoes like it was the hype shoe back then.
There was nothing in LA that really represented the epicenter of like where you went to get the latest sneakers that you felt connected all things from art, music, fashion. Undefeated is the true definition of community.
In the area where Undefeated was, you know, we would always hang out there. It meant the world to us. It meant the world to us for us to have somewhere to hang out, skate, and, you know, do us.
My university happened on La Brea, right? And in places like that all over the world, and I'm so humble that I got to be given that opportunity by Undefeated and its owners. The legacy is like, nothing makes me personally happier to see like a kid that used to work for us doing something great, or like somebody that grew up in the store seeing their kids.
All I remember is walking into there and feeling like I was at home. The people, the energy, the music that was playing. You know, funny enough, I think the first time I walked in there, if I remember correctly, one of my records was playing.
To me, Undefeated has always been like an energy or a mindset. And I feel like when I approach any project, I kind of have that mindset in mind of like, you know, play dirty, be your authentic self, like be willing to be vulnerable in your work. And to me, that's what kind of Undefeated, play dirty means.
It was a good feeling. It was very unique. They didn't follow no rules. It was very militant, should I say. Like, they kept to a certain formula. They kept everything uniform. The brand wasn't all over the place.
Undefeated was always a pioneer. Not just like, just selling just product, but like Eddie Cruz and James Bond, these guys have a really good taste. So like, they put me on a lot of stuff. It's not just like a LA, New York thing. We're doing something in like Japan, and we're something in London, and we're doing something in Paris. So they had a very like keen but like really tasteful international money.
Undefeated had this magnetism to them that just attracted us as kids to go there and check out what was new weekly. To me, Undefeated represents, it's a mindset, it's a lifestyle, it's an attitude. It pioneered what sneaker boutiques are today.
Between the Philadelphia Eagles and outside of them, brand-wise, Undefeated's pretty up there in the grand scheme of things as far as like important brands of my life. I'd actually have to think about it beyond that. Like that impactful where I was like so almost weird.
What I really love about Undefeated, I think, is the family aspect. It's very friends and family oriented and everyone takes care of everybody.
I think it's always been a myth. Like, for me, I still don't know if it's real, you know, this shoe. People talk about it and then you see it selling for, you know, the price of a house or a car or a mortgage, down payment. So I don't know, it's always been a myth. It's always been something that's like not real. It's just like supposedly existed.
That shoe was like a unicorn, mystical figure that's out there online, but sample here, sample there, but is it real? Was someone ever touched it?
It was one of the first of many firsts. It was the first boutique collaboration with an Air Jordan. And over the years, early on, 1,000, 3,000, 5,000, 10,000, 15,000, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, possibly more have been paid for this particular sneaker.
I had to be like around that 10 to 12 age and like going and looking on like Flight Club and just like going to see the most expensive shoes and what they are, and then finding out more about it. Then obviously like over time, just like knowing the lore behind it, it being the first ever collab that Jordan did, especially like now in this time where collabs are everywhere.
These sneakers right here actually made me start collecting again. When I seen them, I said I had to have it, and then you know how that goes, it gives you that bug.
And then in 2016, when I got money, right, I signed my deal in March, first thing I did was like cash out on sneakers. And I'll never forget when I finally found a pair of Undefeated 4s, and I believe I paid, I don't want to lie, but I think I paid anywhere between 11 and 16,000. And I was so fucking happy.
You know, it's literally the first. And when you're the first, I think you really set the tone, right, for collaborations moving forward, especially with a brand like Jordan Brand, right, where it really does tie in fashion, sports, culture, all these things. And two power players coming together.
I mean, it's unbelievable. You know, I never thought I would see this day. You know, such a unicorn, you know. It was one of those things where you just couldn't believe it happened, right?
The kids of today can only continue to be inspired to, I mean, you're not gonna outdo it, but that's the challenge out there. You know, create something unique within your own, you know, bubble or your team's bubble, and then, you know, produce it in some fashion, draw it, create it, put it together, present it, and you know, if you build it, they'll come.
I'm hoping that the youth are inspired by the example that we've set. I think there is an emphasis that it's been 20 years of support, right? Supporting one another, building community, building a global community, and that it just didn't happen overnight, and that there's actually sincerity behind that.
It's very humbling for me to be part of the journey to bring back the Jordan 4. I was a consumer and collector back then, and now I'm a co-owner and CEO for the brand. I'm still a collector, but it's definitely a milestone in my life.
I like the idea of this being available for everyone. I think that's cool. I think it's nice that the history of it exists as it was an exclusive thing and now everyone can have it. And now people will wear them.
So I'm so glad they came out again. I feel like everybody is gonna be psyched about that.
Yeah, I heard about the Undefeated 4s like growing up. My friends and family used to talk about it like it was a myth or like as if it wasn't a real sneaker.
It allows new stories and new energies to be like developed and fostered. It's like there's gonna be a 40-year-old person who was thinking about the Jordan 4s 20 years ago, and then there's going to be a 20-year-old person who wasn't even born yet, and they're both going to be lining up next to each other for the shoe. And then the older guy's going to be like to the younger guy, you weren't even born yet, you like, and stuff like that. But that's just life, I guess, and it allows people to connect across generations. And I think that's always a good thing, you know.
We just knew they looked good. We didn't know that the audience or the youngsters or the people out there that collect this stuff are more educated these days. They're up on it, they get it, they know that how many were made and the crazy limited. And so now with the rebirth, with the relaunch, a bunch of youngsters are gonna be able to get their hands on them.
Being the first Jordan is huge, right? But I don't know the impact, like that being one of the most sought after undefeated shoes 20 years later and people still going crazy and asking if I have access to it. Like, I didn't expect that.
Yeah, you guys nailed it. Just proof that like good design will always last, you know? So if you do something that's really good and really intentional, 20 years later, we're still here geeking out over all these little micro details, and yeah, this is beautiful.
To use the proper terminology, Undefeated withstood the test of time. No matter how many variations, no matter how many shops, no matter what, it withstood the test of time. That's what Undefeated means to me.
The beauty of that shoe is that to this day, even in the duration of time that it came out, it's still talked about as one of the greatest Jordan 4s in history of all time.
I forget who said this, but they say a mark of greatness is when everything before you is obsolete and everything after you bears your mark, especially with Undefeated. It was like, you guys always raised the bar. It was a game changer.